Joining us now is Okpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Junix.
Good morning, Dr. Vati. How are you this morning?
I'm good.
Good morning, Tundra Abiola.
Good morning, Oji.
You look really pretty this morning.
You always look gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. Well, all right. Good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe.
In the United States, the embattled Duke of York, Prince Andrew, on Tuesday settled a lawsuit by Virginia Jeffrey, accusing him of sexually abusing her when she was a teenager. The settlement, including an undisclosed payment, was revealed in the joint filing at a Manhattan federal court where Jeffrey sued the prince. And a group of scientists have cured human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, in a woman for the first time since the disease emerged in the 1980s. The woman is the third person to be cured of the virus after a group of researchers used a new method of transplanting stem cells that they hope could be administered to dozens of people every year. In Russia, President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday described the situation in East Ukraine's breakaway regions as genocide. In a press briefing, the president said that Russia does not want a war in Europe and called for the conflict there to be resolved through the Minsk peace progress. Other sports, tennis champion Novak Djokovic announced on Tuesday that he will not defend his Wimbledon or French Open titles if he was forced to take the jab against COVID-19. Djokovic, who is unvaccinated, was deported from Australia ahead of the first Grand Slam of the year after 11 days following 2 visa cancellations, 2 court challenges, and 5 nights at an immigration detention hotel. Finally, under entertainment, the hosts for the 94th Academy Awards have been revealed. And for the first time in Oscars history, 3 women will be hosting the iconic show. The announcement was made on Tuesday during the Good Morning America telecast. The 3 actresses include Virginia Hall, Amy Schumer, and stand-up comedian Wanda Skies.
Well, let's begin what's trending. Hadiza Bala Usman, the former managing director of the Nigerian Ports Authority yesterday, was cleared of allegations of failing to remit 165 billion naira operating surplus to the coffers of the federal government. The investigation into the alleged fraud took 9 months. However, the 11-member committee set up by the Ministry of Transportation to probe the alleged fraud decided to shift its attention to allegations of insubordination to Rotimi Amaechi, the Minister of Transportation. Hadiza was accused of ignoring ministerial directives and communicating directly with President Muhammadu Buhari. She was originally suspended in May 2021 by the minister over allegations that 165 billion naira was missing or not remitted to the Treasury single account. I mean, it just seems like an unfair situation at this point because only yesterday the new MD was cleared to become, to take over her position, and they've just cleared her of the allegations. A lot of people are saying, why replace her if the initial issue has been resolved? I'll take a tweet before I come to you, Tundu. One user wrote, the same script, 1, media trial, 2, suspension, 3, media conviction, block access to power that be, 5, conduct investigation, 6, nothing against him or her, 7, out of office, but name cleared, 8, he or she no longer interested, mediocrity wins, saying, I pass you, the end. This is always the rhetoric for all of these types of investigations. I just think that is such an unfair situation. I know this day was reporting a win-win, but I don't see it as a win-win.
Yeah, I don't either. This day's front cover says, at MPA, no victor, no vanquished. Hadiza Bala Usman cleared, removed. So she was cleared, yet removed. And as you said, Bello Koko has now been made MD with immediate effect. So yes, I just think that if we're looking for a silver lining here, the only comfort is that if you're going to lose your job, it's better to lose your job after being accused of insubordination rather than being accused of any kind of financial impropriety. So if we're looking at I suppose the victory here, it will be that, in that her name has been cleared. But she lost her job in the process, so yes, it's not a win-win as far as I can see.
I don't see it as a win-win.
Well, when I commented on this earlier, I talked about ego conflicts, which has become, a major obstacle to interdepartmental or personal relationships in terms of the governance process in Nigeria. If we reduce all of this, the original charge was that money was missing. Now she's been cleared of that. Her name has been cleared.
Yes.
I think she's been vindicated. So she has no stain on her. Well, how about victory or whatever? She got another job. She went back to Kaduna State, where she went back to an old position. So she's still in the process. So she really technically has not lost anything. Now, the second part of it is this point that about insubordination.
Yes.
And if you look at the various allegations, there were allegations about not listening to instructions from the Minister of Transport, not clearing certain processes with the Minister, going above the head of the Minister directly to the presidency and not following the line of command and all of that. So two individuals, in this case, our good self and the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amaechi. Now, only God knows how much damage this personality clash, personality conflict has done to the governance process in Nigeria. In this case, it's a Ports Authority. We have had similar cases in the past. Public officials fighting over something as ordinary as office space. We have had a case like that. Who should do what. At a point, the president of Nigeria had, in the case of the, I think, Ministry of Information, to list out specific functions between the Minister of Information and the Minister of State Information, because the two were not prepared to work together. So the loser in such situations are the Nigerian people. It's the Nigerian people that lose. Because when governance is reduced to personality clashes, this is the kind of situation that you get. Okay, you may say it's a human situation, but who is having the last laugh? Now, the subtext to this is the Mohammed Kuku, who assumed office 4 months ago, was said to be Amaechi's man. That, in fact, he was one of his officers in Rivers State when he was governor there. And the insinuation at the time was that the minister did not want Hadiza and wanted, his former staff to be the head of the place. The Mohammed Kuku has been there now for 4 months. He's now been confirmed. I hope he realizes that if he thinks so, his own godfather had won the battle for him and all that he will be assessed on the basis of his performance in the place. And I said earlier on that I haven't seen from him the kind of dynamism that we saw when Hadiza Bala Usman was there. So our own concern should be about service delivery, not about personalities, even if that is part of the major subtext in this particular regard. So it's unfortunate that this has turned out so badly. But the problems at the ports remain of congestion, of very long turnaround time, and gross inefficiency at the ports. That's what we are concerned about.
Absolutely. We shall take another story. Francis Waive, a lawmaker from Delta State, has presented a bill to the House of Representatives seeking to replace the punishment for attempted suicide. According to Section 327 of the Criminal Code Act 2004, any person who attempts to kill himself is guilty of a misdemeanor and is liable to imprisonment for 1 year. The proposed amendment seeks to replace this section to any person who attempts to kill himself is guilty of a misdemeanor and is liable to compulsory counseling and community service for a period not less than 6 months. The lawmaker said penalizing attempted suicide with 1 year imprisonment is hardly prevention, and those who contemplate suicide have an underlying mental and psychological disorder and as such need counseling. I do absolutely love this proposal because, like the rep said, they do have underlying situations. Depression is a big deal, and a lot of people do commit suicide from depression, and I don't think that they should spend 1 year in prison. Your take on that?
I don't love the proposal, and I'll tell you why.
Sure.
The only reason why this completely ridiculous law is actually still on our books is because of our colonial masters. But they actually decriminalized suicide in 1961, but we all know we were independent in 1960. This proposal here, this amendment to the law, will still make you a convicted criminal if you attempt suicide. How can you, on one hand, acknowledge that these people are in real severe mental distress? Depression is a disease, same as cancer, that has survivors, and it has people who, succumb to the disease. People succumb to depression when they commit suicide. We have cancer survivors who didn't succumb. It's not to penalize the person. You will be a criminal convict for the rest of your life, just that you will not spend time in a cell. Community service is still criminal punishment for a crime. So I don't know why we acknowledge that it's a mental illness, that they need counseling, and still punish people. According to Section 460 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, community service, and we saw it when Nigeria's prison service was renamed to Nigeria Correctional Service. There's a push towards community service because of prison decongestion. There's an acknowledgement that some crimes are not so serious that you need to lock somebody behind bars. But every single time you have to fill a form, you are a convict. You've been convicted of an offense. Before you are even convicted and given that community service for 6 months to do, whether it's sweeping the streets or whatever, you must go through a trial. Somebody who's already so emotionally fragile that they want to take their own life will stand before a judge and be explaining themselves. They will be convicted, and then they go out to sweep or whatever it is. Community service for me is appropriate, like what the Act says, for more minor offenses. Things like, I don't know, the last person I know who had to do community service was to do with sanitation. They make people sweep.
Usually
things like that, yes. But not when somebody is so fragile that they try to take their own life. I think we should decriminalize it in its entirety and only just have that counseling requirement. That's what they need. They need help.
That's another valid point.
Okay, Section 327 of the Criminal Code is what deals with attempted suicide. And it classifies it as a misdemeanor. And it says that if you attempt suicide, you are liable to 1 year imprisonment. In other words, suicide itself is not a problem, because if you commit suicide and you succeed, the law has no problem with you.
Absolutely.
You have done very well. You have killed yourself. But if you attempt it and you survive it, then the state under Section 327 says, no, you have committed a misdemeanor, for which you will be held liable and you will be punished. So the point that Tuno is making is that, okay, that particular section should be removed.
Scrapped, which is a good point.
And I guess because of the sociology of suicide itself, the connection between suicide and mental health, the connection between suicide and poverty, the connection between suicide and all forms of discrimination in our society. As you have seen in many examples, in 2016, a report indicated that Nigeria had the highest rate of suicide in Africa. And since then, the number has gone up, because as we are more economically dispossessed, more people try to kill themselves. I think that, what the House should be looking at, the bill has gone past the second reading now, so it will still come to plenary, it will be debated. So there's still room for fine-tuning the content of that particular bill. But it's good that Frank Waive, has brought it to public attention, a major issue of concern. Now, take for example, I think what we need to do is to have suicide deterrent systems.
That was the question I was going to raise.
Suicide deterrent systems will include providing counseling opportunities for people. Many of the people who try to kill themselves in Nigeria, oftentimes they don't tell anybody.
No.
So do we have a system in place to counsel people? In some other jurisdictions, they have these people they call shrinks that people can go to and discuss their issues with, right? Now, here in Nigeria, you have places of religious worship. But all these places of religious worship have become so expensive now that even people who have issues are afraid to go to the pastors because they'll say they don't have money to give. Now, beyond that also, at other levels, in schools, in other places, we need counseling centers. 2, maybe good governance will help. Some of the classical cases of suicide attempts that we have had have been persons who are either owing money or they are broke or, they have some other issues on their own front. The most recent case in February, the woman that was rescued by the Rapid Response Squad at Oworo, end of the 3rd mainland bridge. She said she was beaten at home. Maybe a married woman was beaten by her husband. And she thought the best way to solve the problem was to go and jump into the Atlantic Ocean or the lagoon. Okay? Maybe if she had access to counseling, maybe that will solve the problem. 3, I think it's also important, as is done in other parts of the world, to identify suicide points, suicide spots in Nigeria. In many of these countries, there are specific places that people try to go to. There is a place called Prince Edward Viaduct, I think in Toronto. There is the Jack's thing in Ontario. There is the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Special spots where people just want to go and commit suicide. In Nigeria here, the most notorious spot in the last few years has turned out to be the Third Mainland Bridge.
I was just going to say, you left out the
It's only occasionally that you find either LASEMA, the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, or the Rapid Response Corps rescuing people. Some of the time, people jump into the lagoon and they get away with it. Now, if you look at that 10 Mainland Bridge, not enough patrolling takes place there. Even the sidebars, the railings are so low. Sometimes, there are spots where anybody can just turn over and jump. In some places, they will raise those bars so that it won't be possible for people to jump into the lagoon. So these are certain things that can be done, to discourage people. The law, yes, if you amend it, if you remove it, it will not eliminate suicide.
Absolutely.
The issues go beyond just legislation. It's about how we manage human beings, the quality of the Human Development Index in Nigeria, and whether or not Nigerians are truly happy or not.
I was going to ask you this question, but I did not want to interrupt you. Did I hear you say you have to pay for counseling in the church?
No, you don't. That was
No,
was that
what I mean is
that
when you go to
You
this,
don't have to pay for
it's just a way of a manner of speech.
Yeah.
But of course, that going to churches too may not be that cheap. Pastor Tundu, because you have to bring out tithes. You have to bring.
I'm looking at you with disapproval. You're not looking at me to see my disapproval.
No, in this church,
of what you're saying.
The pastors preach
I
prosperity.
disapprove. I disapprove, Dr. Baxter.
Yeah, because I am Catholic, and we do have counseling there. But I mean, we don't have to pay for
No,
that.
that's the Orthodox,
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking
I mean,
about
all these other churches.
Yes.
That are
but
private
I think that
companies.
should be the first institution
Private
for that.
companies.
Don't worry.
Well, all right. We shall take our final story in South Africa with this viral video of a proposal that took place at a female secondary school, which has generated debates on social media. The proposal took place ahead of Valentine's Day in front of the schoolyard during school hours. Some users on social media were outraged, while others encouraged the gesture. Let's take a look at the video before we come back for a discussion.
But it's me that gets proud. What you do, I'm empowered. You give me.
Oh my God, so many things to discuss here. But first, I was just saying that I went to an all-girls school, and we didn't have this in our school. I mean, what is this encouraging at this point?
I don't get it. I also went to an all-girls school. This is so shocking to me. Even apart from, obviously, the homoerotic undertones of this, well, it's not even an undertone. It's like blatant. But I just think this kind of behavior, this kind of conduct is too mature for children. They're kids.
Yes.
They're children. This should not be happening. And where is this adult supervision here? How is this allowed to happen? This cannot happen in a school, or should not happen in a school, without the teachers or other staff breaking this up. This is actually deeply disturbing. They're just children. I don't believe children should be having these thoughts of any kind of romantic endeavor. This has nothing to do with homophobia. Even if it was a boy proposing to a girl in school, I would have the same reaction. This is way too advanced for kids.
Well, as Nigerians, we'll be shocked by this, because in Nigeria, same-sex relationship is
Of course,
outlawed
that's another issue.
under the Same-Sex Marriage Prohibition Act of 2014. Under the Jonathan administration, which was quite, controversial. But this is South Africa. an average South African is not likely to be shocked.
Yes.
Because in South Africa, after a constitutional case matter, in 2006, the parliament there enacted what they call the Civil Union Act of 2006. And in the South African constitution, it's expressly stated that nobody can be discriminated against on the basis of their sexual orientation. Out of all the 54 countries in Africa, 22 countries, legalized same-sex relationship, same-sex union, but not in Africa, not in Nigeria, where you can be sentenced to a term of 14 years in jail, or 10 years for aiding and abetting, or under Sharia jurisdiction in the northern part of the country. It's death penalty.
Death.
If you are involved in same sex. So we have to understand the context. This is South Africa. I would be mortified if this were to happen in a Nigerian school, because it will be reported. And there is a lot of discrimination against this kind of conduct in Nigeria. But okay, we can talk about students. They're in that school, whether it's in South Africa or in Seychelles or Mauritius, to study.
This is what my question was. I mean, I never thought that it would be
the school authorities will ensure that there is greater focus on the study rather than personal relationships.
Yes.
And the way they were being hailed by their colleagues, you could see that in their society, it's not considered a problem.
But that I was going to ask you, because I can't ask you. We went to an all-girls school. Did that happen in your school? Did you guys do Valentine proposals and all
in my time?
Yes.
On bended knee, no less.
The craze about Valentine and all this proposing and kneeling down, no. That was not a fashion in my time. This is a new thing that people like you brought from Europe and the United States.
I have nothing to do with it.
All right, thank you guys. That's all I have for you on What's Trending today. I'll see you tomorrow.